work with me, you follow the rules. Rule number 1, you give me everything you've got. Rule number 2, then you give me more. And rule number 3, I make the rules.
Big emergency press conference meeting, Justice League Hall meeting, whatever you want to call it. This isn't a video I want to make, but I made a video a couple weeks ago because there was breaking news that finally, after waiting for so long, Matt Reeves was finally going to turn in the first draft of the Batman Part 2, which was hopefully going to be the last and final draft as well, because we want that damn movie. But we all got excited. We were ready to go. We were saying, hey, forget the rumors, forget all the fake news about it. This movie's finally happening. It's not getting canceled. Everyone's on board. And, I think at a time like that, we were like, okay, we can breathe. We can rest easy. It's happening, right? And it's also fitting I'm still wearing my Pattinson Mickey Thompson shirt. No, I didn't mean to do that. It happened by chance as I'm making this on the spot video. But since Memorial Day, when it was sought to be turned in from Matt Reeves, turns out that there's more news that they still don't have it. They still haven't seen it. They haven't seen any pieces of it. They haven't read a full script. Now, there was talk that Matt Reeves had turned in particular little pieces throughout the year, so they may have, seen bits and pieces of the story. But as far as a full draft, again, this film's kind of a mystery going on right now of when's it going to get fully turned in, what's the actual scenario of what's happening, and I think the most important question of them all, which has already been said 1,000 times, and, we don't really want to even think about it, but I do think it needs to be. And that is this film really going to happen? It's no secret for films to get delayed or pushed off for different reasons, personal, tragic, business meetings, anything. It could be anything with how crazy Hollywood is. But as it's going and going and going, I want to bring up another factor that's sitting with me, because each time it's gotten delayed, I keep sitting, well, it seems like they're committed. It seems like no matter what, throughout the time and these multiple delays for whatever reason, no, it's still happening. It's still happening. It's still happening. And I gotta be honest, I'm kind of at a point, but how long is too long, right? How long is too long until maybe a little bit of the desire, need, or want for these films kind of get pushed aside? And I don't want that to happen, I'll say that. But if it's going to take this long and these films are going to get drawn out so much, how long until it kind of feels like, that particular set of universe story and what they were going for that past, let's say we have 2, 3, 4 new DC films out in an entirely new universe plus TV shows, will it ever get to a point where maybe people are like, come the time I was in for that, but now, I don't know, it just kind of feels like beating a dead horse now. I've said this before, but I will be insanely surprised when this film happens, or if it does, if they continue the storyline that's set up at the end of the film with the flooding of Gotham, the National Guard, and the setup of that. Because quite frankly, they kind of dealt with it a bit in the Penguin in the aftermath. And if this part 2 would have came out, at the schedule it was set a few years later, okay, right? He's dealing with the ramifications of the end of the first one and his mistakes. But now, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, who knows how long it's going to take? You look back at it and it's like, okay, do we really care about the story anymore? I seriously think that if they do it, it's going to be an entirely new story. Think of, your Quantum of Solace to Skyfall and the Bond-esque. Skyfall wasn't really a reboot or a remake, but it was kind of a fresh start for the franchise. It didn't, really carry off anything from Casino Royale and Quantum. And I think we could see this here. I think they'll have to jump to that just to keep the interest of what's going on and the excitement. I mean, the more you get more films, more comic films dealing with these larger than life threats or these storylines, they might look at something like that it's, you know, we were hoping to get the resolution for the flooded Gotham City story 5 years ago. Now you're going to have to give us something a little bit more interesting to keep us occupied. And I hope they do. I want to see Hush. I want to see Professor Pig. I want them to even go, you know, a little bit of fantasy. I'd love to see Clayface. I'd love to see Mr. Freeze or any of the, you know, rumored villains this film could get. Because I want this trilogy. I want this, or I want it to be more than a trilogy. I want it to really succeed. But dealing with this news, even I, who usually have been a little bit more optimistic, thinking, no, it'll be fine. It'll always be fine, okay? But I'm actually thinking about this more, like I said, not along the lines of, you know, the interest of WB wanting to do it, but fans wanting them to do it. You know, you keep dragging it out for so long, I genuinely am kind of worried that people might lose interest in seeing these films concluded. Think about, you know, once more DC films come out, more DCU films come out, heck, they might have another Batman going at the time before this film gets going. And then, you know, the comparisons draw if you're competing with Batman. And truth be told, who's to say that WB really doesn't want competing Batman? I mean, logistically, I think we can all agree, even though we would love to have two, it kind of makes sense for them not to have to or want to for various reasons. And, you know, me and I'm sure a lot of Batman fans are like, hey, give us 100, you know, give us every storyline you can. But it does seem a little weird. I hope it doesn't happen, and I really want this to succeed. But, you know, the more Matt Reeves, you know, deals with what he's dealing with, and, you know, this film keeps getting pushed back, I think, unfortunately, WB might end up, you know, forgetting about it, or thinking, you know, this would have been good a couple years ago, but we're kind of looking to move forward now, which is unfortunate. I'd really hate to see another DC director or franchise or, you know, vision for DC get completely shut down. But I think it's something that right now is something to maybe consider and think about. You know, Pattinson, Matt Reeves, like I think even if you don't particularly love that universe or love everything about it, the one thing that you can, and I love very much, it's a film, right? Even if you don't like everything that's set up with Batman, the grounded, real, the storylines, the interpretations of the characters, when you watch a Matt Reeves film, it is an artist making a film. The way it's shot, the detail, the music, like everything is like, you can tell at least that he's putting his, you know, heart and soul into this film to make it the best of what he sees. You know, he's not phoning it in. And just like that whole universe was set up and those actors. So, you know, I have my, you know, thoughts of wanting a more fantasy style Batman now. I love the grounded aspects. I kind of want them both to come together. But if anything, right, the best thing about WB having Matt Reeves on their team is that he's an artist. He can make a film, and he does it to 100%. So I want that to happen. But quick thought is that maybe it won't, but I hope it does. It's been Hayden Barton for the Batman Tradition. Take care.